My name is Leah. I'm 28 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I was supposed to be my sister Emma's maid of honor. Right now, there's a beautiful lavender bridesmaid dress hanging untouched in my closet tags, still on dreams, still broken. But instead of crying in my Chicago apartment while Emma walks down the aisle, I'm sitting in a Tuscan villa, and somehow the entire internet knows my story. Before I share how my sister's betrayal became my greatest adventure, I'm curious where you're watching from today. If you've ever been excluded by family, please hit like and subscribe to join me on this wild journey that changed everything. Growing up in suburban Chicago, Emma and I were more than sisters. We were best friends with only 2 years between us. I still remember the summer nights we'd spend building blanket forts in our living room, creating elaborate secret handshakes that would change every week, and how I'd always walk her to her classroom on her first day of school, even when I was only 8 myself. Emma had this way of making everything feel like an adventure, and I loved being her protector, her guide, through life's little mysteries. When our mother passed away from cancer, I was 16 and Emma was 14. I'll never forget that night in the hospital, when Emma crawled into my bed, both of us orphaned from our mother's warmth, and we made a promise. Through tears and trembling voices, we swore we'd never leave each other, that we'd be each other's constant in a world that suddenly felt impossibly cruel. Our father David tried his best, but we became each other's mothers, sisters, and best friends, all rolled into one. That promise held strong through high school, through my college years at Northwestern, where Emma would visit every weekend she could escape through her freshman heartbreaks and my first job rejections. When I landed my career as a graphic designer at a boutique firm downtown, Emma was the first person I called. When she graduated with her real estate license, I was in the front row screaming louder than anyone else. Our Saturday morning coffee dates at Bluestone Lane became sacred. Every single Saturday, no matter what we'd meet at 8:30 sharp, Emma would order her oat milk latte with an extra shot. I'd get my flat white with cinnamon, and we'd sit in the corner booth by the window talking about everything and nothing. She'd tell me about her challenging clients, the houses that felt like homes, and the ones that felt like prisons. I'd share my latest design projects, the nightmare clients who wanted 47 revisions, and the rare magical moments when creativity just flowed. When Emma met Thomas at a real estate conference in Miami, she called me from the airport bathroom, whispering like a teenager with her first crush. "Leah, I just met someone," she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "He's different. He's special. He makes me feel like I'm floating." I was genuinely happy for her. After her devastating breakup with her college boyfriend Ryan, who'd cheated with her roommate Emma, deserved someone who would treasure her. 6 months into their relationship, when Thomas proposed at Navy Pier with our grandmother's ring he'd somehow acquired from our father, Emma didn't even say yes before calling me. "Leah, it's happening," she screamed into the phone, and I screamed right back, already mentally planning everything. The night she asked me to be her maid of honor remains one of my favorite memories. She showed up at my apartment with champagne and those ridiculous party store crown headbands that said bride and maid of honor. We sat on my couch drinking straight from the bottle because we were too excited to find glasses, and she held my hands. "I literally cannot imagine doing this without you," she said, tears streaming down her face. "You're not just my sister, you're my person. Promise me you'll be right there beside me." I promised. Of course I promised. The wedding planning consumed our Saturdays in the best way. Instead of just coffee, we'd spend entire days together. First, there was the venue hunting. We visited 17 different locations before Emma fell in love with the Meridian House, a historic mansion with gardens that looked like something from a fairy tale. Then came the flowers, where Emma agonized between peonies and garden roses for 3 hours before deciding on both. The cake tasting turned into a sugar coma adventure, where we tried 23 different flavors and combinations, ultimately choosing a lemon elderflower cake that tasted like spring itself. I personally designed all the wedding materials, staying up until 3 in the morning, perfecting the invitation suite, creating custom monograms, designing programs that told their love story, and crafting table numbers inspired by places they'd traveled together. Emma would sit beside me while I worked, bringing me tea and massaging my shoulders when they got tense from hunching over my tablet. Planning her bachelorette party became my personal mission. I coordinated with 15 of her friends, booked a stunning Airbnb in Nashville, arranged private line dancing lessons, reserved a party bus, and even convinced her favorite local band to do a surprise acoustic set at our rental house. Every detail was meticulously planned because Emma deserved nothing less than perfection. The bridesmaid dress shopping day was special in a way I didn't expect. Emma, her three other bridesmaids, and I spent the afternoon at BHLDN trying on dress after dress. When we finally found the one, a flowing lavender number with delicate beading, Emma grabbed my hand and whispered, "You're going to look so beautiful standing next to me. I can already picture it." I could picture it too. I just never imagined that picture would never become reality. The first time I met Thomas properly was at Emma's birthday dinner 8 months ago. He was handsome in that conventional way, tall with perfectly styled dark hair, and a smile that he seemed to practice in mirrors. He shook my hand, with just a bit too much force held eye contact, just a beat too long, and complimented my dress in a way that felt more like an assessment than genuine kindness. Throughout dinner, I watched him closely. He had this way of touching Emma constantly, his hand on her lower back, her shoulder, her thigh, but it felt more possessive than affectionate. When Emma excused herself to the bathroom, Thomas immediately turned to me. "So Emma tells me you two are extremely close," he said, emphasizing extremely in a way that made it sound like a problem. "That must be challenging for you, watching her move into this next phase of life." I forced a smile and replied that I was nothing but happy for them. He laughed a sound without warmth and said, "Well, things will certainly be different once we're married. Emma needs to focus on her new family." The way he said it sent chills down my spine, but Emma returned before I could respond, glowing and oblivious. Over the following months, small incidents began piling up. Thomas would forget to include me in group dinner invitations, only for Emma to text me last minute when she realized I wasn't there. He'd make subtle jokes about how Emma and I were codependent and needed to establish healthy boundaries. Our sacred Saturday coffee dates started getting canceled. First once a month, then every other week, then more often than not. Emma would apologize profusely, saying Thomas had surprised her with plans, or that they needed to meet with wedding vendors, even though I was supposedly planning the wedding with her. The graduation party happened 3 months before the wedding. Thomas's cousin was graduating from law school, and Emma insisted I come as her emotional support, since she hadn't met much of Thomas's extended family yet. The party was at Thomas's parents' estate in Winnetka, all perfectly manicured lawns, and people who looked like they stepped out of a country club catalog. I was getting a drink at the bar when I saw her, Maria. I recognized her from Emma's Instagram deep dives when she first started dating Thomas. His ex-girlfriend, the one he'd dated for 3 years before Emma, the one he claimed had moved to California for a job and was completely out of his life. Yet there she was laughing with Thomas's sister, wearing a dress that looked expensive enough to pay my rent for 3 months. I tried to convince myself it meant nothing. Maybe she was in town visiting. Maybe she was still friends with the family. But then I overheard her talking to a group of Thomas's cousins. "It's been so nice reconnecting with Tommy," she said, and my stomach dropped at the intimate nickname. "These past few weeks of texting have been exactly what I needed. He always knows what to say." One of the cousins, clearly a few drinks in, laughed and said, "Just like old times, right? You two always were inevitable." I felt sick. I spent the rest of the party following Maria at a distance, and my worst fears were confirmed when I saw Thomas corner her by the pool house. They talked for 20 minutes, her hand on his chest, him leaning in close enough that their faces almost touched. When Emma appeared, Maria melted back into the crowd, and Thomas immediately pulled Emma into a passionate kiss that felt more like performance than genuine affection. I agonized for 3 days about what to do. My best friend Jennifer said I had to tell Emma immediately. Marcus argued that maybe I misunderstood what I saw. Amy from work said to stay out of it entirely. But this was Emma, my sister, my person. I couldn't let her marry someone who was already betraying her. I finally decided to tell her privately, gently. I invited her over for dinner, made her favorite pasta arrabbiata, and opened a bottle of good wine. I waited until we were comfortable on the couch before bringing it up. I need to talk to you about something I saw at the graduation party." I started carefully. I told her everything. About seeing Maria, about the overheard conversation, about the intimate moment by the pool house. Emma's face went through a journey of emotions, confusion, disbelief, anger, and finally a cold mask of denial. "You must have misunderstood," she said flatly. That's when I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots my friend Rachel had sent me. Rachel was dating Thomas's cousin and had access to the family group chat where Maria had been actively discussed, messages about how great it was to have Maria back in the fold, and speculation about whether Thomas was having second thoughts. Emma stared at the screen for a long moment, then stood up abruptly. "I need to go," she said. "Emma, please, I'm just trying to protect you," I pleaded. She turned at my door, her eyes cold in a way I'd never seen directed at me. "Or are you trying to sabotage the one good thing in my life because you can't stand the idea of me being happy without you?" The words hit me like a physical blow. She left and I stood there in my doorway watching her disappear into the elevator, feeling like I'd just lost a part of myself. For 2 weeks, there was radio silence. I texted, called, even showed up at her apartment once, but she wouldn't answer. Our father tried to mediate, but Emma told him she needed space to think. I later learned that during those 2 weeks, Thomas had convinced her that I was jealous, that I'd always been jealous, that I couldn't handle her finding happiness because I was single and bitter. He painted a picture of me as the toxic sister who couldn't let go. And in her confusion and hurt, Emma chose to believe him. The text came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was in a client meeting. My phone buzzed, and seeing Emma's name, I excused myself immediately. "After much consideration, I've decided it would be best if you weren't part of the wedding party. I need people around me who support my relationship unconditionally. I think it's also best if you don't attend the wedding at all. I need space from your negativity and attempts to control my life. Please respect my decision, and don't contact me again until I'm ready." I read it 3 times before it sank in. Then I ran to the bathroom and threw up. The formal uninvitation came via email that evening, clearly written by Thomas, or at least heavily influenced by him. It used words Emma would never use, phrases like toxic influence and boundary violations and emotional manipulation. It informed me that my invitation had been revoked and that security would be informed to prevent any attempts at attendance. My own sister had not only removed me from her wedding, but painted me as such a threat that she needed security to keep me away. From the wedding where I was supposed to stand beside her, hold her bouquet, fix her veil, and celebrate her happiness. I called our father sobbing so hard I couldn't speak. He drove over immediately, held me while I cried, and promised he'd fix this. But when he tried to talk to Emma, she told him that if he pushed the issue, he could consider himself uninvited too. The manipulation was complete. Thomas had successfully isolated her from the one person who'd seen through him. That night I lay in bed staring at the bridesmaid dress hanging on my closet door, still in its protective bag tags attached, dreams shattered. The dress I'd never wear to the wedding, I'd never attend for the sister who no longer wanted me in her life. The 3 days following the uninvitation were the darkest I'd experienced since our mother's death. I called in sick to work, unable to face the normal world, while my own was crumbling. I moved between my bed and my couch, existing on crackers and water because everything else made me nauseous. The bridesmaid dress hung on my closet door like a ghost, mocking me with its presence. On day 2, I made the mistake of opening Instagram. Emma had posted a photo with our cousin Sarah, both of them holding champagne glasses. The caption read, "So blessed to have family who supports me unconditionally. Welcome to the wedding party, Sarah. You'll be the most amazing maid of honor." Sarah, our cousin, who Emma had always found annoying, who forgot her birthday 3 years in a row, who hadn't even attended our mother's funeral because she had a beach vacation planned. That Sarah was now standing in my place. The comments were what broke me. Mutual friends asking where I was, why I wasn't in the photo, followed by Emma's response, "Sometimes you have to remove toxic people from your life even if they're family. So grateful for those who truly love and support me." My phone exploded with messages. Friends who'd seen the post confused and concerned. Extended family members who'd heard different versions of events. Each text required an explanation I didn't have the energy to give. How do you explain that your sister, your best friend, your other half had chosen a manipulative man over 28 years of sisterhood? My friend Jennifer found me on day 3 using the spare key I'd given her years ago. She took one look at me, still in the same pajamas, surrounded by tissues and untouched food deliveries, and immediately went into crisis management mode. She called Marcus in New York, who booked the next flight out. She texted Amy and our college friends, assembling what she called the emergency response team. By that evening, my apartment was full of the people who actually loved me. Marcus had flown in from New York bringing good wine and his signature sarcasm. Jennifer had ordered Thai food from my favorite place. Amy brought face masks and chocolate. My college roommate Katie drove up from Milwaukee. They formed a protective circle around me, letting me cry, rage, and cycle through every emotion without judgment. "She's making the biggest mistake of her life," Jennifer said, refilling my wine glass for the third time. "Thomas is clearly a narcissist who's isolating her from anyone who sees through him." Amy added, her psychology degree finally coming in handy. Marcus, ever the dramatic one, stood up and raised his glass. "I propose a toast. To Emma, may she get exactly what she deserves. And to Leah, may she realize she deserves so much better than being someone's second choice." That's when Katie said something that changed everything. "You know what? Instead of sitting here during the wedding, we should do something epic. Something that shows you're not devastated, you're liberated." "Like what?" I asked, voice hoarse from crying. "I don't know, go somewhere amazing. Have your own celebration. Show everyone that being excluded from that toxic situation is actually a gift." The idea seemed absurd at first, but as the wine flowed and the night progressed, it started taking shape. Amy mentioned her cousin, who ran a boutique travel company specializing in last-minute luxury trips. Marcus pulled up flights on his phone, gasping at surprisingly low prices to European cities. Jennifer started an impromptu vision board using magazines she found under my coffee table. At 2 in the morning, when everyone else had fallen asleep in various corners of my apartment, I found myself scrolling through Instagram, unable to resist the digital self-harm of looking at Emma's wedding hashtag. Post after post of wedding preparations, bridesmaids' gifts, venue decorations. Then I saw a sponsored post from a travel blogger showcasing a wedding photo shoot in Tuscany. The rolling hills, the golden light, the pure joy on the couple's faces. Emma and I had always dreamed of going to Italy together. We'd made a pact in high school to visit Tuscany for our 30th birthdays to drink wine in vineyards and pretend we were in a movie. That dream, like so many others, was now dead. Or was it? I opened a new browser tab and typed last-minute flights to Rome. The price that popped up seemed like a sign less than half what it should be, leaving in 5 days, returning the Monday after Emma's wedding. My cursor hovered over the booking button. Marcus stirred from the couch, saw me at my laptop, and came over. "What are you doing?" he asked groggily. "Something either really stupid or really brilliant," I replied. He looked at the screen, saw the flight details, and a slow grin spread across his face. "Book it!" "Marcus, that's insane. I can't just fly to Italy because my sister uninvited me from her wedding." He sat beside me, suddenly fully awake. "Actually, that's exactly why you should fly to Italy. Look, Emma chose Thomas over you. She chose to believe his lies over 28 years of sisterhood. She's having her fairy tale wedding, even if it's to the wrong person. Why shouldn't you have your own fairy tale? But going alone to Italy while she gets married, that's just sad." "Who said anything about alone?" Marcus pulled out his phone and within minutes had found a matching flight. "I've got vacation days saved up, and honestly, I'd rather drink wine in Italy with you than sit here knowing you're miserable." By morning, it had snowballed. Jennifer rearranged her work schedule to join. Amy convinced her boyfriend that she needed a girls' trip. Katie and 2 other friends committed on the spot. Suddenly, I had 7 people ready to fly to Italy with me, instead of watching me wallow during Emma's wedding. The group chat Jennifer created was titled "Better Than a Wedding," and within hours it was flooded with links to villas, restaurants, wineries, and experiences. Amy, with her marketing background, suggested we document everything. "Not to be petty," she said with a grin that suggested otherwise, "but to show that choosing yourself is always the right decision." We found a stunning villa in Tuscany available for the exact weekend of the wedding. It had 8 bedrooms, a pool overlooking vineyards, and a kitchen where we could pretend to be in a movie. The owner, responding to our inquiry, offered a discount when Amy mentioned we were celebrating friendship instead of attending a wedding that excluded one of us. Marcus found a professional photographer named Lorenzo, who specialized in destination lifestyle shoots. His portfolio was breathtaking, all golden hour light and candid joy. When we explained our situation, he offered a package that included a full day of shooting around Tuscany, hitting the most photogenic spots. The planning became therapeutic. Instead of dwelling on what I'd lost, I focused on what I was creating. We booked a wine tour through Chianti, a cooking class with a local nonna, who promised to teach us her family's secret pasta recipes, a sunset dinner at a cliffside restaurant in Positano that required a day trip, but looked worth every minute of travel. Jennifer suggested we all pack one formal outfit for a special dinner, something that would photograph beautifully. If Emma gets her wedding photos, you should get your Italy photos, she reasoned. 3 days before departure, I made a decision that felt both cathartic and insane. I went to BHLDN and bought a white jumpsuit. Not a wedding dress, but something that would photograph like a dream against the Tuscan landscape. The saleswoman, the same one who'd helped us find the bridesmaid dresses, recognized me and asked about Emma's wedding. I told her I was going to Italy instead. She gave me a 50% discount and a hug. I also decided to bring the bridesmaid dress, not to wear for an entire event, but for one symbolic photo. A closure ritual, Jennifer called it. A way to acknowledge what was supposed to be while celebrating what actually was. My father came over the night before I left. He'd been trying to stay neutral, but the strain was obvious. He handed me an envelope with cash inside, more than he could really afford. "For something special in Italy," he said. "Your mother would be proud of you for choosing joy over bitterness." "Dad, do you think I'm doing the right thing?" He pulled me into a hug. "I think Emma is making a terrible mistake that she'll regret for the rest of her life. But I also think you're making a brave choice that you'll remember forever. Go to Italy, sweetheart. Live your life. Don't let anyone, not even your sister, dim your light." As I packed my suitcase that night, carefully folding the white jumpsuit and the lavender bridesmaid dress, I felt something shift. The devastation was still there, but underneath it was something else. Excitement, possibility, the strange freedom that comes from having nothing left to lose. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Thomas. "I hope you've learned your lesson about interfering in other people's relationships. Enjoy watching from the sidelines." I screenshotted it, not sure why I'd need it, but knowing I would then block the number. I had a plane to catch and a new story to write. One where I was the main character, not the supporting role. One where being uninvited was the beginning, not the end. The next morning, 7 of us met at O'Hare Airport, all wearing matching t-shirts Jennifer had rush ordered that said, "Living our best lives," in Italian. As we boarded the plane, I posted a single photo to Instagram. Just our feet, 7 pairs of shoes, heading down the jet bridge. The caption read, "Sometimes the best adventures come from the worst betrayals. Italy, here we come." Emma's wedding was in 4 days. My rebirth was beginning now. Thursday morning in Rome felt like stepping into a different life entirely. The 7 of us stumbled off the plane after the overnight flight, exhausted, but buzzing with anticipation. The moment we stepped outside Fiumicino Airport, the Italian sun hit our faces like a blessing. Marcus immediately started taking photos while Jennifer practiced her limited Italian phrases on our confused taxi driver. We spent the first day in Rome doing every tourist thing possible, but with a twist of defiance and joy that made it feel revolutionary. At the Colosseum, we took a group photo with everyone jumping in the air, our timing finally perfect on the 7th try. At the Trevi Fountain, instead of wishing for love, I threw in 3 coins and wished for freedom, adventure, and the courage to always choose myself. Amy documented everything with her professional camera and marketing eye. She created a highlight reel on Instagram called The Italy Chronicles and started using hashtags like #living my best life instead and #choose yourself first. Within hours, friends back home were commenting with heart emojis and fire symbols saying how amazing we looked, how happy I seemed. Friday's train ride to Tuscany was 3 hours of pure magic. We bought too much wine from the train cart, sang badly to Italian pop songs we didn't understand. And Katie gave an impromptu toast that made everyone in our car applaud, even though they didn't speak English. "To Leah," she said, raising her plastic cup of Prosecco, who turned rejection into redirection, who chose adventure over anguish, and who reminded us all that the best family is the one you choose. The villa exceeded every expectation. Perched on a hillside overlooking endless vineyards, it looked like something from a movie set. The property manager, an elderly man named Giuseppe, welcomed us with homemade limoncello and the kind of warm hospitality that made you want to never leave. When he learned why we were there, that we'd chosen celebration over sorrow, he upgraded us to the property's best suite and threw in a case of local wine. That evening, as we cooked dinner together in the massive kitchen, dancing to Dean Martin and drinking Chianti, I felt something I hadn't experienced in weeks, pure, uncomplicated happiness. We sat outside under string lights, sharing stories and dreams until the early hours. Amy pulled out her phone and showed us that my airport post had gotten over 2,000 likes. People I hadn't spoken to in years were commenting, sharing their own stories of family betrayal and choosing themselves. Saturday morning arrived with golden sunlight streaming through ancient shutters. The wedding day. At exactly 9 a.m. Chicago time, 4 p.m. Italy time, Emma would be getting ready. Her bridesmaids would be helping her into her dress, fixing her veil, telling her she looked beautiful. Sarah would be holding her bouquet, standing in my place. But I wasn't thinking about that as I sat on the terrace with my chosen family, eating fresh pastries and drinking cappuccinos that tasted like liquid heaven. Marcus raised his coffee cup. "To the bride," he said with a wicked grin, "may she get everything she deserves, and to us already having everything we need." Lorenzo the photographer arrived at noon with an assistant and enough equipment to shoot a Vogue spread. He was younger than expected, with an easy smile and an artist's eye for light. When he heard our story properly translated by his assistant, his face lit up. "We make art from pain," he said in beautifully broken English. "We show the world that happiness is a choice, not a circumstance." The photo shoot was nothing like the stiff-posed wedding photos Emma had planned. Lorenzo took us to a sunflower field near San Gimignano, where we ran through rows of golden flowers taller than our heads, laughing until our stomachs hurt. He captured us at a local winery, toasting with glasses that caught the light like liquid gold. At an abandoned villa covered in ivy, we pretended to be in a period drama, swooning dramatically, while Marcus played a Prince Charming to everyone's princess. I wore the white jumpsuit for the afternoon session, and when I emerged from the villa's dressing room, everyone gasped. The outfit was elegant and powerful, sophisticated, yet free. Nothing like a wedding dress, but somehow more meaningful. Lorenzo positioned me against an ancient stone wall, the Tuscan hills rolling endlessly behind me, and said, "Now think of everything you're leaving behind, and smile, because you're free." The photo he captured in that moment would later become the one that changed everything. Me, laughing with my head thrown back, arms spread wide, the jumpsuit flowing in the breeze, the entire Tuscan countryside serving as my backdrop. It was joy personified, freedom, visualized, choosing yourself made manifest. As the sun began its descent, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold that seemed almost too perfect, I knew it was time for the bridesmaid dress photo. I'd been dreading and anticipating this moment equally. The lavender dress still had its tags, which Jennifer carefully removed. As I slipped it on, I felt the weight of what it represented. The role I'd never play, the promise I couldn't keep the sister who'd chosen someone else. We went to an olive grove Lorenzo knew, ancient trees that had witnessed centuries of stories. The light was perfect, that magical golden hour that photographers dream about. I stood among the trees wearing the dress that was meant for a different story, and Lorenzo asked me to think about forgiveness. "Not forgiving her," he clarified. "Forgiving yourself, for loving someone who couldn't love you back the same way." The photo he took showed me hanging the dress on an olive tree branch. My hand letting go of the hanger, my face turned toward the setting sun. It was goodbye and hello simultaneously. An ending and a beginning. The death of one dream and the birth of another. Amy suggested we do a ceremonial toast as the sun set. We stood in a circle, glasses of Prosecco raised, and each person said something they were releasing and something they were claiming. When it was my turn, I said, "I release the need for my sister's approval. I claim my right to be happy without her." We posted the photos at exactly 4 p.m. Italy time, 9 a.m. Chicago time, the precise moment Emma would be getting ready for her 11 a.m. ceremony. The first photo was the group of us at breakfast captioned, "Starting the best day with the best people." Then the sunflower field shots, the winery, the villa. Each one carefully timed to coincide with what would be wedding preparation moments. But the photo that broke the internet was the one of me in the white jumpsuit. Amy posted it with the caption, "This dress was meant for a wedding. It found something better, instead freedom." Within minutes, the likes started pouring in. Hundreds, then thousands. Comments from strangers saying, "You dropped this," and "This is the energy I need," and "Your sister lost a diamond while collecting rocks." The hashtag had "living my best life" instead started trending. Someone created a TikTok using our photos with an empowerment soundtrack that got 50,000 views in an hour. By the time we were having dinner at a local restaurant, Giuseppe had recommended my phone was unusable from the constant notifications. A travel blogger with 2 million followers had shared our story. A lifestyle magazine wanted to interview me. The villa owner offered us 3 free nights if we'd tag them in more posts. Local restaurants started sending invitations for complimentary meals. But the message that stopped me cold came from cousin Sarah. It was sent at what would have been the middle of Emma's reception. "The wedding is in chaos. Emma saw your post during photos. Thomas's ex, Maria, showed up uninvited and caused a scene. Emma knows you were right, but she's too proud to admit it." The whole reception is people looking at their phones watching your Italy adventure instead of paying attention to the bride and groom. You won. I didn't feel like I'd won. I felt sad that my sister's wedding day was ruined, even if she'd brought it on herself. But as I looked around the table at my friends, their faces glowing in the candlelight, raising their glasses to toast our adventure, I realized I hadn't lost either. Lorenzo sent the first batch of edited photos that evening. When I saw them, I cried. Not from sadness, but from the shock of seeing myself look so radiantly happy. In every shot, I was glowing with a joy I hadn't felt in years. These weren't photos of someone running away from pain. These were photos of someone running toward joy. The final photo he sent was the bridesmaid dress hanging in the olive tree sunset light, filtering through the branches. I posted it at midnight Italy time with a simple caption, "Some dresses are meant for weddings, others are meant for letting go." By morning, it had 300,000 views and had been shared over 10,000 times. Women from around the world were sharing their own stories of family betrayal, of choosing themselves, of finding freedom in rejection. We'd accidentally started a movement. An Italian morning show reached out wanting to interview us. The villa owner upgraded us to their premium property for free. Restaurants competed to host us. We'd become minor celebrities in Tuscany, the American women who'd chosen joy over drama. But the most unexpected message came from Thomas's mother. She'd liked every single one of my photos and left a comment on the bridesmaid dress one. "You dodged a bullet, sweetheart. I wish my son had chosen you instead." As I fell asleep that night, in a bed that overlooked the Tuscan hills, listening to my friends laughing in the next room, I realized something profound. Emma hadn't just uninvited me from her wedding. She'd uninvited me from a life of accepting less than I deserved. And for that unexpected gift, I was starting to feel genuinely grateful. Sunday morning brought a thunderstorm of notifications along with the Tuscan rain. I woke to find my phone battery dead from the overnight assault of messages, comments, and calls. When I finally got it charged, the first thing I saw was 47 missed calls from Emma. I wasn't ready for that conversation, so I scrolled through the other messages instead. The cousin network had been busy. Sarah had sent a play-by-play of the wedding disaster. Apparently, Maria had shown up during cocktail hour drunk and determined to win Thomas back. She'd announced to anyone who would listen that she and Thomas had been texting for months, that he'd promised to leave Emma after the honeymoon. Security had escorted her out, but not before half the guests heard everything. Emma had seen our Italy posts while getting photos taken at the lake. The photographer later told Sarah that Emma had broken down crying, ruining her makeup, screaming about how I was trying to ruin her day from across the ocean. Thomas had tried to calm her down, but made it worse by saying, "At least now everyone can see what kind of person your sister really is." Even Emma's friends thought that was cruel. The reception, according to multiple sources, was awkward at best. Emma's college friends were all on their phones following our Italian adventure. The speeches were stilted, with Sarah stumbling through a maid of honor toast that everyone knew should have been mine. Our father apparently gave a speech where he mentioned me 3 times each time, causing Emma to visibly flinch and Thomas to glare. Our grandmother, 83 years old and filter-free, had apparently stood up during dinner and loudly declared, "This wedding feels wrong without Leah. She should be here, not in Italy, with people who actually care about her." She then sat down and refused to speak for the rest of the night. But the real drama came when Thomas's best man, drunk on whiskey and truth, gave a toast that included the line, "Thomas, you always did like a challenge. Remember when you were dating both Maria and that girl from the gym at the same time? Wild times, brother." The room went silent. Emma went white. Thomas tried to laugh it off, but the damage was done. By the time they cut the cake, half the guests had left. The dance floor remained mostly empty. The photographer told Sarah he'd never seen a more miserable-looking bride. The last photo posted on the wedding hashtag showed Emma sitting alone at the head table, while Thomas talked to his groomsmen at the bar. At midnight, Italy time, 6 p.m. Chicago time, right when the reception would have been ending, Emma called again. This time I answered. Her voice was broken raw from crying. "You ruined everything." "Emma, I wasn't even there." "Exactly. You weren't there. You were supposed to be there. You were supposed to be standing next to me, telling me I looked beautiful, fixing my veil, holding my bouquet. Instead, you were in Italy, living your best life, making sure everyone knew you were having more fun than me at my own wedding." I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. "Emma, you uninvited me. You chose to believe Thomas over me. You called me toxic and had security ready to keep me out." What exactly was I supposed to do? Sit at home crying? "Yes, no, She paused, sobbing. "I knew you were right about Thomas. I knew it when you told me about Maria. But I was already so deep into the wedding planning, everyone knew the deposits were paid. I thought I could make it work. I thought if I just got you out of the picture, the doubts would go away. So you sacrificed me to save face. I sacrificed us because I was scared. And now Thomas is downstairs at the hotel bar, probably texting Maria. And I'm alone on my wedding night talking to my sister who's in Italy with a group of people who used to be my friends too." That stung. Jennifer, Amy, and Katie had all been invited to the wedding initially. They'd chosen me over the invitation. "They're still your friends, Emma. They just couldn't support what you were doing." What I was doing? I was getting married. You were marrying a man who manipulated you into cutting me out of your life. And from what I'm hearing, he's already shown you exactly who he is. There was a long silence. Then quietly, the best man's toast. He basically admitted Thomas has cheated before. Everyone heard it. My boss heard it. Our grandmother heard it. Dad looked like he wanted to murder someone. What did Thomas say? He said his friend was drunk and joking. But Leah, I found texts from Maria on his phone while he was in the shower this morning. This morning, on our wedding day. They've been planning to meet up after we get back from the honeymoon. My heart broke for her despite everything. "Emma, I'm so sorry. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, scrolling through Instagram and seeing you living your best life in Italy, it doesn't seem like you're sorry at all." "I can be sorry that you're hurting while also protecting myself from the pain you caused me. I'm your sister, and you forgot that when you chose him over me." She was crying harder now. "I need you to come home. Cancel the rest of your trip and come home. I need my sister." "Emma, you can't just snap your fingers and undo what you did. You didn't just uninvite me from a wedding. You accused me of being toxic, of trying to sabotage your happiness. You turned our family and friends against me. You chose to believe I would lie to you about something so important. That doesn't just go away because your wedding went badly. So you're just going to stay in Italy and keep posting photos, keep rubbing it in my face. I'm going to finish my vacation with my friends. What you do with your marriage is your choice, just like uninviting me was your choice. Leah, please. I'm begging you. I made a mistake. I see that now. Please come home. I'll be home Tuesday as planned. We can talk then if you're ready to actually apologize and take responsibility. But Emma, I need you to understand something. Our relationship will never be the same. You broke something that can't be unbroken." "I'm getting an annulment," she said suddenly. "I already called a lawyer. Well, Dad called a lawyer. The marriage was never consummated, and there's proof of Thomas's deception. I'm ending this. That's probably wise. Will you ever forgive me? I looked out at the Tuscan hills, still wet from the rain, sparkling in the morning sun. My friends were starting to wake up. I could hear Jennifer singing in the shower, Marcus making coffee. Maybe, someday. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And it doesn't mean things go back to how they were. I miss you so much it physically hurts. I miss who we used to be too. After I hung up, I sat on the terrace and cried. Not the desperate broken sobs of 3 weeks ago, but the cleansing tears of grief for a relationship that would never be the same. Marcus found me there and sat beside me, not saying anything, just being present. The rest of Sunday was bittersweet. We took a day trip to the Amalfi Coast, driving the winding coastal roads with the windows down and music blasting. In Positano, we had lunch at a restaurant built into the cliffs, watching boats bob in the impossible blue water. I posted photos, but my heart wasn't fully in it anymore. The triumph felt hollow, knowing Emma was suffering, even if it was self-inflicted. That evening, a producer from an Italian morning show called. They wanted us to appear Monday morning to talk about our story, which had apparently captured the Italian imagination. The story of American women choosing friendship and adventure over family drama resonated with their audience. Amy Ever, the marketing mind, said it would be incredible exposure. I agreed mostly because I didn't know what else to do with the feelings churning inside me. My father called that night. I saw the posts, he said carefully. You look happy. I am, mostly. Emma called. I know, she's staying with me. Left Thomas at the hotel. The marriage lasted approximately 8 hours. Is she okay? She will be. She's devastated, humiliated, and heartbroken, but mostly about losing you, not Thomas. She knows she made the wrong choice. Dad, she didn't just make a wrong choice. She deliberately chose to believe lies about me. She painted me as toxic to everyone we know. I know, sweetheart, and she knows too. The question is what happens now? I honestly don't know. Your mother would want you two to find your way back to each other. Mom would have never let it get this far in the first place. He sighed. That's true, but she's not here, and you girls only have each other. No, Dad. Emma made sure I knew I don't have her. I have these people here with me. They chose me when my own sister wouldn't. Monday morning came too quickly. The TV appearance was surreal, sitting on a couch in a Roman studio telling our story with the help of a translator. The hosts were warm and funny, calling us brave American women and inspiration for anyone who's been betrayed by family. They showed our photos on huge screens, and the studio audience applauded when they saw the one of me in the white jumpsuit. The interview went viral in Italy and beyond. By the time we boarded our flight home Tuesday morning, I had offers from 3 publishing houses wanting me to write a book, a documentary filmmaker interested in our story, and hundreds of messages from women sharing their own stories of choosing themselves over toxic relationships. But the message that mattered most came from Emma as we waited at the gate. A simple text. I'm in therapy. Individual and family. Will you consider joining when you're ready? I want to earn the chance to be your sister again. I didn't respond immediately. As the plane lifted off, carrying me away from the fairy tale I'd created and back toward the reality I'd have to face, I thought about forgiveness, about family, about the prices we pay for self-respect. Looking out the window at Italy disappearing below, I realized this trip hadn't been about revenge or even about healing. It had been about discovering that I could create my own joy, independent of anyone else's choices. Emma had uninvited me from her wedding, but in doing so, she'd invited me to find myself. And that girl, the one who chose adventure over anguish, who turned rejection into redirection, who found family and friendship, she was someone worth being. Coming home felt like landing on a different planet. O'Hare Airport, with its harsh fluorescent lights and hurried travelers, was a jarring contrast to the golden glow of Tuscany. But as we collected our luggage, my friends around me still buzzing with stories and inside jokes from our adventure, I realized I wasn't returning as the same person who'd left. Marcus split a ride with me, and as we pulled up to my apartment building, he squeezed my hand. You know this isn't over, right? The hard part is just beginning. He was right. My phone had been buzzing nonstop with messages from family members, mutual friends, and numbers I didn't recognize. The story had exploded beyond anything we could have imagined. Someone had created a Reddit thread about it that had thousands of comments. BuzzFeed had picked it up. The hashtag had living my best life instead had been used over 1 million times. My apartment felt strange, like it belonged to someone else. The bridesmaid dress was back in my closet, but now it felt like a relic from a different life. I hung the white jumpsuit where the dress had been a reminder of the person I'd chosen to become. The first few weeks were overwhelming. I went back to work to find my desk covered in flowers from colleagues who'd followed the saga online. My boss pulled me aside and said, "If you need time to deal with everything, take it. But also the creative director from our Milan office saw your posts and wants to talk to you about a position there." Milan, Italy. The possibility hung in the air like a promise. The blog started almost by accident. I'd written a long post on Facebook to answer everyone's questions at once, and Jennifer suggested I turn it into a proper blog. "Your story resonated with so many people," she said. "Keep telling it." The first post titled, "When Your Sister Uninvites You from Her Wedding Book. A Flight to Italy," got 100,000 views in 2 days. The comments section became a support group for people who'd been betrayed by family. Women shared stories of sisters who'd stolen boyfriends, mothers who'd chosen new families, brothers who'd excluded them from inheritions. Each story was different, but the theme was the same: choosing yourself when family wouldn't choose you. I started writing regularly about healing, about boundaries, about the difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. Brands reached out wanting to sponsor posts. The documentary filmmaker flew to Chicago to interview me. 3 literary agents wanted to represent me for a book deal. My Instagram following grew to 200,000 people, all invested in my journey toward healing. Emma and I didn't speak for 6 months. She texted occasionally updates about her therapy progress, the annulment proceedings, her moving back in with our father temporarily. I read them but didn't respond. I wasn't ready. Sarah told me Emma had left social media entirely unable to handle seeing my success while dealing with her shame. Thomas tried to contact me once, a long email about how I'd ruined his life, how the Italy post had humiliated him professionally, how his family was ashamed. I forwarded it to my lawyer, the one I'd hired when the book deal became real, and never thought about him again. Maria reached out too, apologizing for her role in everything, sharing that Thomas had been stringing her along for years. I wished her well and blocked her number. The breakthrough with Emma came unexpectedly. I was at a coffee shop, our old coffee shop, working on my book when she walked in. She looked different, thinner, her hair shorter, something hollow in her eyes that hadn't been there before. She saw me and froze. I could have left, could have pretended not to see her. Instead, I gestured to the chair across from me. She approached cautiously, like I might change my mind. "Hi," she said quietly. "Hi. You look good, healthy, happy. Therapy helps, and building a life you're proud of." She flinched, but nodded. "I've been in therapy 3 times a week, individual twice, family with Dad once. He wanted me to tell you he misses you at family dinner." "I miss him too. Just him." I looked at her, really looked at her, this broken version of my once vibrant sister. "I miss who you used to be, who we used to be together." Dr. Morrison, my therapist, says I have codependency issues and a fear of abandonment from Mom's death that made me vulnerable to Thomas's manipulation. But she also says those are explanations, not excuses. That sounds about right. I read your blog, every post, usually crying. Why? Because you're right. About all of it. About choosing yourself, about family not being an obligation. About forgiveness not meaning reconciliation. She paused, a tear starting. About me breaking something that can't be unbroken. Emma, no, please let me finish. I've practiced this so many times. I betrayed you in the worst possible way. I chose a man I'd known for less than a year over my sister, who'd been there my entire life. I let him convince me you were the enemy when you were trying to protect me. I publicly humiliated you, excluded you, and tried to turn our family against you. And when it all fell apart exactly like you said it would, I expected you to come running back like nothing happened." She was crying fully now, but I didn't reach out to comfort her. That wasn't my role anymore. "The worst part," she continued, "is that I knew. Deep down, I knew you were right about Thomas. But I was so invested in the image in the wedding, in not being the girl who got engaged and then called it off. My pride cost me everything that actually mattered." "What do you want from me, Emma?" "Nothing. Everything. I want my sister back, but I know I don't deserve her. I want to earn the right to be in your life again, even if it's just as someone you have coffee with once a month. I want to show you that I've changed, that I'm in recovery from who I became with Thomas. But mostly I want you to know that I'm sorry. Not the easy sorry you say when you bump into someone. The kind of sorry that keeps you up at night, that changes how you see yourself, that rewrites your entire understanding of who you are." I sat with her words, feeling their weight. "I'm moving to Milan." She blinked, surprised. "What?" "My company offered me a position there. I'm taking it. I leave next month." "Oh." The devastation on her face was complete. "For how long?" "At least a year, maybe permanently." "Because of me." "No, because of me. Because Italy showed me who I could be when I wasn't trying to be someone's sister, someone's friend, someone's anything. Just me." "I understand." We sat in silence for a moment. Then I said, "I've been in therapy too. Dr. Williams says forgiveness is a process, not a moment. She says it's possible to forgive someone and still maintain boundaries, to love someone from a distance." Is that what we are, loving each other from a distance? For now, maybe forever. I don't know yet. Would you let me write to you, email, or actual letters, not expecting responses, just sharing? Dr. Morrison says it might help both of us. I thought about it. "Okay. But Emma, I need you to understand something. We're never going to be what we were. Those Saturday coffee dates, the automatic closeness, the assumption that we come first in each other's lives, that's gone. If we rebuild anything, it will be new and different and probably always a little bit careful." "I know. I killed the sisters we were. I have to live with that. We both do." I stood to leave and she stood too uncertain. I didn't hug her. Couldn't. Not yet. Maybe not ever with the same ease. But I did touch her shoulder briefly, feeling the sharp bones underneath her sweater. "Take care of yourself, Emma. Not for me, not for our family, but for you." "Leah," she called as I reached the door. "The blog, the book, the whole world knowing our story, I never asked. Are you writing about today? About this conversation?" I turned back. "Would it matter if I was—" She thought about it, then shook her head. "No, it's your story to tell. I gave up the right to control the narrative when I rewrote our history to make you the villain." The book came out 6 months later while I was settled in my Milan apartment with a view of the Duomo. Uninvited, a memoir of sisterhood, self-discovery, and choosing Italy over toxic family. It debuted at #3 on the New York Times bestseller list. Emma sent me a copy to sign with a note. I bought 10 copies, one to read, 9 to remind myself of the cost of choosing wrong. I'm proud of you. Still in therapy, still sorry, still hoping. Emma. I signed it. "To Emma May, you find your own Italy. Leah." And I meant it. The documentary aired on a major streaming platform using our real footage from the trip interspersed with interviews. The night it premiered, I hosted a viewing party in Milan with my new friends, people who knew me only as Leah, not as someone's sister or someone's tragedy. Marcus flew in for it because of course he did. As the credits rolled, my phone lit up with messages from around the world. Women sharing their stories, thanking me for giving them permission to choose themselves. But the message that mattered most was from Emma. Watched it, cried through the whole thing. "You look so happy in Italy. You still look that happy in Milan." That's all I wanted to say. A year became 2 years in Milan. I fell in love with the city, with the morning cappuccinos and evening aperitivos, with the way Italians celebrated everything and nothing. I dated a photographer named Alessandro, who knew my story but didn't define me by it. I made friends who became family, proving that blood doesn't determine bond strength. Emma wrote every month as promised. Long letters about her therapy, progress, her new job, her volunteer work with women, leaving abusive relationships, her slow rebuild of her life. I started responding after the first year short notes at first, then longer ones. We were building something new through words, something that might never be sisterhood but could maybe be friendship. 2 years after the wedding, that wasn't, I was back in Chicago for the holidays. Emma and I met for coffee, not at our old place, but somewhere new, somewhere without history. She looked healthier, stronger, more like herself than she had in years. "I'm seeing someone," she said carefully. "His name is Nathan. He's a therapist, actually. We met at a conference on toxic relationships, which is ironic. I've told him everything about Thomas, about what I did to you. He says I'm brave for facing it. I told him he didn't know the half of it." "Are you happy?" "I'm working on deserving to be happy. There's a difference." "Emma, you deserve happiness. We all do. We just have to be careful about what price we're willing to pay for it." "The price I paid was too high." "Yes, it was. But you gained so much from it. The book, the documentary, Milan, your whole new life. I would trade it all to never have been betrayed by you in the first place." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I know. That's what makes it worse. That you didn't want any of this. You just wanted your sister. And now I have myself instead. That has to be enough." We talked for 2 hours, catching up on the surface things, the safe things. As we prepared to leave, she asked, "Will you ever fully forgive me?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "I forgave you the day I signed your book. Forgiveness was for me, not you, but trusting you again. That's different. Trust once broken, that completely might never fully return. We can build something new, but it will always have the ghost of what was. I'll take it. I'll take whatever you're willing to give. I know you will. That's part of the problem and part of the solution." As I flew back to Milan, I thought about the journey from that dark day when I received the uninvitation text to now. The girl who'd cried on her couch surrounded by tissues and destroyed dreams wouldn't recognize the woman typing on her laptop above the Atlantic, working on her second book, living a life she'd built from the ashes of betrayal. Emma had uninvited me from her wedding, but life had invited me to something better. A journey of self-discovery that took me across an ocean and into a version of myself I might never have met otherwise. The bridesmaid dress that started this story now hangs in a museum of modern art in Chicago, part of an exhibit on transformation and resilience. The curator contacted me after reading the book, saying it was a perfect representation of dreams that die to make room for better ones. The exhibit's placard reads, "Sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you is showing you exactly who they are, even if it hurts." This dress was meant for a wedding that became a funeral for who these sisters used to be, and a birth announcement for who one of them would become. Below it, visitors leave notes about their own transformations, their own betrayals that became blessings. I read them when I'm in town, reminded that our stories connect us in ways blood never could. The Italy villa where we stayed has become a pilgrimage site of sorts for women choosing themselves. Giuseppe sends me photos of groups arriving toasting to freedom and friendship. The hashtag #LivingMyBestLife instead spawned a movement, support groups, and annual trips where strangers become family over Tuscan wine and shared stories of survival. Thomas tried to sue me for defamation after the book came out. It was dismissed immediately, the judge noting that truth is an absolute defense. He married Maria 6 months after the annulment and divorced her a year later when she cheated with his business partner. Emma sent me the news with just one line: "Karma has a sense of humor. Our father walks me down the aisle at my wedding next month. A small ceremony in a Tuscan vineyard with only our chosen family present. Emma won't be there. We both agree it's too soon, maybe always will be. But she sent a gift, a photo album of us as children with a note, 'For the woman who learned to choose herself. May your marriage be built on truth even when it hurts, especially then. With love and respect from afar, Emma.' And that's enough. It has to be. Because this story was never really about Emma's betrayal or the wedding I was uninvited from. It was about discovering that sometimes rejection is redirection, that family is who shows up, not who shares DNA, and that the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's a life lived so fully, so authentically, that the person who hurt you becomes just a footnote in your larger story. The bridesmaid dress in that museum will outlast all of us. A lavender reminder that not all endings are bad, not all betrayals are defeats, and sometimes being uninvited is the greatest invitation of all. An invitation to find yourself, choose yourself, and become yourself completely and unapologetically. My sister uninvited me from her wedding. In return, I invited myself to a life I never knew I wanted. And for that unexpected gift, I am finally and fully grateful. If you've made it this far in my story, I want to know, have you ever been excluded by someone you loved and found something better on the other side? Drop a comment below and share your story. And if this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about choosing yourself. Share this with anyone who needs to hear that rejection can be redirection. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And remember, sometimes the best fairy tales are the ones we write for ourselves when someone else tears up the script.